All right, so I'm going to do some tutorial work here for Bentley Viewer on how to set up your viewing space and how to use some of the tools so you can get some good measuring and rotating and viewing of the files. So first, I've opened up a file here with no toolboxes or nothing open. So when you first open up your Bentley Viewer, you may have a few other things open, but I'm just doing this for the purpose of making sure that you have all the toolboxes and view controls open that you're going to need. So first, I'm going to open up all the toolboxes that we need. In order to do that, we're going to go to Tools, which is right here up on the taskbar. We're going to say Tools. What we want is we want the first three items in this, which is primary, standard, and main. We want these on. Simply to turn these on, just go ahead and click each one. There'll be a check mark next to it if it's open. And once we have all three open, we want to dock them. And in order to dock them is simply click and hold and drag each one towards the top of the screen, and they'll dock. So once we have them docked, it's very good. We want to add a few more toolboxes here. The next one will be in the measure. So go down to measure and then say open as toolbox. So opens up the toolbox, and again, click, drag, and let's dock that up at the top as well. The next tool that we would need is I want you to go down to view, go to view groups, and say open as toolbox. Opens another toolbox with some arrows and some viewports that we can open or close. And we will go ahead and dock that at the bottom left. So you click, drag it down, and it will dock to the bottom. All right, the next thing that we want is I want to add view toolbox on each views, okay? So in order to do that, we have to go to Window, go to View Toolbox, go ahead and click that, and now you will have some buttons at the top of your view here. The next button bar that we want is the snapping button bar. So from here, we would want something that we can control what snaps are on and what we're using. In order to do that, we need to go down to the bottom near the right here, and you'll see a little line with 3 dots on it, okay? What you need to do is go ahead and hold your left mouse button on here, and it will open up this flyout menu. Go ahead and go to the top and click button bar. This opens up another toolbox of buttons for our snaps. And we're going to go ahead and drag that, and we will dock it down at the bottom. Now then, we are almost to the point of having this set up to what we want, and then I will start going through some tools here. But the next thing that we need is to be able to control what levels, or if you call them layers or levels, that are on in the views. In order to turn this on, we need to go ahead and go to the Help button up here at the top, and we'll go down to Key in Browser. Once you've clicked this Key in Browser, you will see a dialog box similar to this. What I want you to start doing is start to type level. As you're typing it, you'll see in the box below it that there are things that are starting with level and L things. So what you want to go ahead and do is click level display, and that will display up here in your key in. Click the next one, which is dialog, and that keys it in for you automatically. And then click open. This keys it in for you as well. Once you've clicked all three of these, and up here in the top it says Level Display Dialog Open, push Enter on your keyboard. It will open up a toolbox that will most likely come in like this. In order to dock it to the side, we go ahead and click and drag it towards the left. When you click and drag this particular one, you'll see that you end up with these little arrows that you can put it at in different places in your view. I personally like it to the left, so I will go ahead and drag it and put it right, hover over this, and it will dock it to the left of my screen. You can adjust the width of it so you can see the level names, and you can adjust the column widths inside so you can see the level names a little bit better. And this will be docked here. If you leave it like it is, it will always be on and into the left here. If you need more real estate on your screen because you only have working with one screen, or you'd like to see more and not always have this on, you can click this little pen button up at the top. When you click this, it creates a tab that when you hover over it, it opens it up, just how we had it. And when you move your mouse off of it, it will close the tab. This way you can get some more real estate without this always being open off to the left. We will go over how to use the levels and what to do here shortly. The next thing I want you to do is, while the key-in browser is open, we're going to open something called AccuDraw. So start typing Accu, which is A-C-C, and you'll see that it's already starting to type in for us. So go ahead down at the bottom again, click AccuDraw, and it types it in. Then we want to go down to Dialog in the next box. Click that, it types it in for you. And then click Main. Once this is done and your key-in is reading AccuDraw Dialog Main, go ahead and push Enter. This will bring up a little box here which is giving us coordinates of where our mouse is at. Once this is done, you may close the key-in dialog box. This is the format that I personally like and the interface that I like when using anything in MicroStation or Bentley Viewer. You can move this AccuDraw however you want. You can move it down and dock it if you'd like. You can leave it out. I personally like it out, but you would like to dock it. Once this is done, we have our interface set up, and now we'll start going through some different tools and different options that we can use in each file. So first, I'd like to go over some of the view controls, which the view control box is right here at the top of each view. The very first button here has a rollout button that has an arrow next to it. You can open it up as a separate dialog, or you can click the button next to it as a rollout menu. This actually can control just about can do any of what these buttons can do here, except for just rotation and zooming, and all in one dialog. You click this, and you can see there's all sorts of different options that we have here in this display. From here, you can tell it if you want to see filled lines or filled shapes, if you want to see different line styles, if you want to see different line weights. If it's highlighted in yellow, it means it's on. If it's not highlighted, that means that it's turned off. Also, you can use a drop-down list here, and you can change how your view is displaying. Right now, we are in wireframe. You can change it to all these different type of views. You can change it to illustration, which will give you an illustration view. It will fill in everything, but it shows lines of where different breaks are at. The other popular one is you can use a smooth, which this is a fast rendered mode. As you can see that it is rendered. I will also show you here right now. You can see that there's little lines here on the side of my pipe. These are representing gaskets for certain fittings, and they are considered construction lines. You can see here in my dialog that constructions is on. If I unselect this, those lines will go away, meaning that all my construction lines are no longer on. So these are a few things. In this particular one, I'm going to keep it in wireframe. You can also do different things such as transparent. It just makes everything transparent. Very simple and typical of any CAD system of different type of rendered views. We're going to keep this in wireframe. I just go ahead and click it back here and it will turn it off. The next button over is just adjusting the brightness of the screen. So when you're in a rendered view, sometimes you'd like to adjust this. Something may seem a little bit too dark and you can adjust this if you need. All these other ones are, if you just hover over them, it will tell you what they do. Update view, you can zoom in and zoom out, which is the same thing as using your wheel button on your mouse will zoom in and zoom out, just like any CAD system. If you hold the wheel button down, it pans. So you're pushing your wheel down and it will pan for you. The same thing as some of the pan option right here. You can do a window area, which is the same thing. I want to see a certain area, we'll do a window. You can say fit view. The next one is one of the key things that you probably most likely use. This is our rotation. Excuse me. This is our rotation views. If you click this, it will rotate. Once you click in the screen and hold down your left mouse button, it will sit there and rotate around this white X. If you are not currently rotating and you hover your mouse over this white X and hold down the left key, you can move this. This is the pivot point that it is always rotating around. So you may want to move that so that it's rotating how you'd like it to. Another way to move this white X is do what we call a tentative snap. In order to do a tentative snap, it's the process of clicking both your left and right mouse buttons at the same time. When you do this, it will snap using whatever active snap you have down here to the closest line that you're at. So when I do a tentative snap towards the end of this pipe, it should snap to the end of the pipe and it will move this white X to that point. And you see that it's doing that. You can do that at any line. I can do this on the red line. I'll do a tentative snap. So pushing left and the right mouse key at the same time. And it will move to the end. Now then that I've brought up the snaps, you can see down here, these are your different snaps. And as you do different things, it will snap to different places. The first one, if you hover over them, they'll tell you what each snap is. The first one is near snap. So it will just snap to the nearest line or solid closest to where you do a tentative snap or any type of snap. So it can snap to the outside of this pipe, it can snap to the inside. It has no preference, just as long as it's on a particular solid or line. The next one is called our key point snap. This one's going to want to snap to the end, the middle, bisection, things like that, just the key points of a line. The next one is just your midpoint snap. When using snaps, as you can see here, I can select whichever one I want to use. when you do this, and it's only orange, okay? If you're looking down here, I have center snap. When it's orange like this, it's a one-time use, okay? So when I go and do a tentative snap, it will do the center of that pipe or that line. And now if you look down here near the bottom, it is no longer, my center point is no longer orange. It went back to my key point snap. What that's doing is it's going back to my default snap after I've done my one snap that I wanted to be different. And you can see here that the key point snap is hashed. It has kind of some black dots or whatnot around it. This means that it's the default snap. To change the default snap, you simply double click the snap that you want. See, now this is my default snap, which is my intersection. So now my default is wanting to snap to intersections. It doesn't always snap to intersections if there's not an intersection right there. But if I were to use a measure tool, it's always going to want to intersect something. And you see here with the little yellow X, it's telling you what it wants to snap to. So it's wanting to snap to these intersections. All right, now then, this is, so you can know, that's how you use the snaps, and you can use them however you feel needed. And we've gone over most of our views up here. So you may rotate. We talked about how to rotate and how that works. Remember that this white X is always the pivot point. You can move it to wherever you'd like. It's always going to want to snap when you're moving it, whichever snap you want, or you can do tentative snaps in order for it to move. But this is your pivot point when rotating. If you go over to this rotate, you can see that there's a little tiny arrow underneath these, and that means that there's a menu below this. So if you just left click, hold down left click on your mouse button on this, and you get this menu. So rotate view, and then we have top view, front, and all our different main views. If you'd like, you can open this as a toolbox, and you can dock it somewhere so that you have them in easy access, or you can just simply use this. You can click top view. Now it's moved into top view, and you can see that my button up here has now changed to top view. The last button, the last option that you used will be what this button is showing. All right, so now that we've kind of covered our different views and how to get our top view and rotate around. The next few ones are very simple. We already said this is the pan tool, which you can use to pan around. You can also just use your center wheel mouse button. So if you push down your wheel, it will create a pan motion. You can do a walk, which is going to turn it into a virtual walk. And using your mouse and your arrow keys, you can walk around and get here. This is a little bit more advanced than what I want to go into, so I'm not going to go into this very much. You can play around with it if you'd like. You have to get the camera set up you have to get zoomed in and the camera set up right in order for this option to work nicely. These undo and redo is certain views that you need. So if you say you had this rotated and you're like, oh, I did not want to do that, I want to go back to my top view, you can click View Previous, and it will go ahead and do that for you. And you can go back to the rotated view if you want. You can just use these simply like that. You can copy the view, and then this is turning the cameras on and off. Like we were just talking about, this might be a little bit more advanced for what I want to go into right now, but you're more than welcome to play around with this. It just changes it from a normal perspective view to something that your eye would see in the real world, different cameras. Now we'll go up on top here on our toolbars up here a little bit more. The first several ones are fairly simple. I mean, so you got your open, your print button, copy. You don't have to really worry about this Bentley library, your help. The next button is for point clouds. On this particular file, I do not have point clouds in it, but if you get a file that has point clouds, this is where you can control the point clouds of how they're displayed, which views they will be displayed in, and what layers that they're being showed on and whatnot. The next one I will go over because we do have an auxiliary coordinate system in this file. It's called auxiliary coordinate systems, or ACS for short. And what it is you can see here this whole project, it's rotated. It's not going straight north or straight east. It's at a rotation, which can make sometimes things a little bit more difficult in measuring or getting around on the job site. So we've created an auxiliary coordinate system that would straighten this out. And if you click the little down button on this, you get a dialog box, and you can create your own auxiliary coordinate systems if you need to. Base is 0. It's your normal, regular, everyday coordinates that will give you your northing and easting of everything. Well, this one down here, this is a reactor building, and so we have one called reactor, and its origin is different than 0, 0. It's at these coordinates, and if I were to right-click on my columns here and I check rotation, you'll see that it's rotated also. So if I double-click this, now up top here it says view 1 is on the reactor ACS. Well, that's great, and now you can see here that my X and Y have changed in this view. Well, the great part about this is I can now go, and if I wanted to click top view, which I'll click top view, and it's not going to change anything in here. And why it's not going to change anything is we need to tell it to lock the ACS plane on in order for this to work how we want. So I will go down here towards the bottom. You'll see a little padlock. So these are all the different locks that are turned on or off in the file right now. So if I click this and I click ACS plane, so my auxiliary coordinate plane, so it will turn on the auxiliary coordinate plane in this view, and now click top, it will align to my auxiliary coordinates. And so now my file is in a straight view. The other lock on here is ACS plane snap. What this is it will snap anything to a horizontal plane. So the very first click that you have, the horizontal value or the vertical value that you have will stay constant, and it will not change in the Z or vertical direction at all if this is checked. This can be useful in doing certain things, and I may go over this a little bit later or in another video. So once we have this, we're on an ACS plane, and we're rotated how we want. It's key to note here that when you have the ACS plane checked, it will change the readout of coordinates, because now our origin is down here. It's not giving us the real world coordinates of things. It's giving us the coordinates as if this was the 0, 0 spot. So if you are trying to get coordinates for certain pieces or aspects of your model, northing and eastings, make sure that this is on checked. And now that we're talking about coordinates, I will just go ahead and do a quick tutorial of how to get coordinates. So I'm going to uncheck this so that I get northing and eastings of certain certain pieces or elements in the file. And we talked about doing tentative snaps. And so what I want to do for this particular example is I want to get the northing and easting of the work point, which is the intersection of this pipe and this pipe, for this 45. So in order to do that, I'm going to go down here, and on my snaps, I want the intersection. So my intersection is my default snap anyways, but I want the intersection tool on because I want to get the intersection of these two lines and get the coordinate of that. So I'm going to do a tentative snap on this line, and then I'm going to also do a tentative snap on this line. You see that my white X did not move where my mouse was because it's doing in the intersection of this line. Upon doing that, your white X does move to the work point or the intersection of the two pipe lines. In order to get the readout, there's a few different places that you can get it. One, it's telling me right here in my AccuDraw what the X, Y, and Z coordinate of these intersections are. So this is the center lines of the pipe, telling me these are the coordinates and the center line value of the pipe. Also, down here in the bottom, kind of the bottom left of the screen, it's telling me the same thing, just in comma format. It's telling me the X, Y, and Z of the intersection of the two lines. So this is how you get coordinates of different stuff. So I could say, okay, that's the coordinate of that. I can also do a tentative snap here, do a tentative snap here. And let's remember, a tentative snap is clicking left and the right mouse button together in order to get a tentative snap. And so it's giving me now the intersection of these two lines and telling me the coordinates. If I didn't want the intersection of something, say I wanted the corner of this building, I'm going to go down here to my snap. I'm going to say key point snap, and then I'm going to just do a tentative snap near this corner. Now you see my white X has moved here, and it's giving me the coordinates and the elevation of this building corner. In order to get out of commands, there's two ways to do it. However, Bentley View seems to default to just doing an AutoCAD escape. When you push escape, it gets out of a command. Bentley also does, if you click your right mouse button, it means the same thing as escape most of the time, just as a FYI. So that's how we get coordinates. And like I said, to get coordinates, you have to make sure to get true northing and eastings, make sure that your ACS plane is not checked. I will check this and show you what happens. We did a coordinate here, and you can see that we're at these coordinates near 35,000 and 1100 in the X and Y. If I turn this ACS plane on and do the same coordinate, you see here now I'm like at 700, close to 700 and close to 665. This is because it's using this point where this coordinate is, this auxiliary coordinates. It's using this point as its 0, 0. So it's saying that it's almost 700 feet this way, 700 feet this way, and about 660 feet in the Y direction from this point. All right, now that we've kind of gone over some coordinates and how to use auxiliary coordinate systems, how to turn them on, turn them off. If I wanted to go back to a base, I would just double click and it would go there. The next few things are the same things that we had already gone over with view controls, zooming in, zooming out, your rotation, your zoom windows, your walking and flying. A little bit advanced for this, but you can virtually walk through or be a plane and fly through. Change your camera to a non-perspective or a normal camera view, which would be looking as if you were normally looking at it out of an eye of a human being. So it will change your perspectives a little bit. You can also turn your camera off, your view previous, your view next. These are your view attributes. So you can see a lot of these are repeated down here that we had already gone over. This is your element selection. So when you have this, you just start selecting different elements. And this is your element selection dialog box. Okay. This is full of different options of how to select things. Your top is, are you selecting individuals? Are you doing a box, a shape, a circle, or a line? So you can see all these different options. You know, they just start doing different things, and you can draw shapes that I want, everything inside this. And depending on how you draw it, if you get a dashed line, it's anything that intersects that line. If you get a solid line, it's only the things inside of it. Circles, you can do lines, all that. Now then, the second row is telling you, do you want only new things? So you see, I have all these things selected. If I select this, it unselects what I previously had selected. If I push this add, it won't unselect the previous things I selected. It will add to my selection set. Same thing with the minus. If I click the minus, it will minus things from my selection set. If you click this invert, if I went across this, it's going to remove the things that were selected on that line, and it's going to add things that weren't selected. So it inverted my selection on this. The very last one is the clear. So how to clear your selection set to where it's not selecting anything. The following one is fence. You won't really need to use this. I wouldn't foresee in Bentley Viewer at all. It just is a different way of selecting or telling a certain thing to do different commands. The next one is your measure, which we've opened this in a toolbox, which is after this. The following one is element information. So if I turn my selection set to individual and new, and I highlighted this and I said information, it simply just gives me the information of this, and you can get different information on what this element is and all sorts of different fun things about it. They tell you like what level it's on, the orientation of it, stuff like that. The next thing is we have our measure tools here. They have pictures that are fairly self-explanatory on what you're trying to measure here. You can measure distances, which you're using your snaps down here, so you can see that it's wanting to intersect to all sorts of stuff here. But it will give you distances, and what it's always going to do here is the top row is giving you your true distance from point to point. Your next one is giving your projected distance to a horizontal plane. If you're not measuring in a horizontal plane, it's giving you the projected distance. The next one is going to total. So as I go along here, it just starts adding on to everything on the next row, which is my total true distances, my total projected distances. This is helpful. If I hit escape, it will get out of my this is helpful when you're trying to do certain like distances for a pipe and the stationing with it. So what I'm going to do here, first I wanted to go through reset, which we kind of talked about earlier with hitting escape, or you hit the right mouse button on your mouse, your right button, and that's considered what we call reset, which is the same thing as escape to most AutoCAD users. but there is a setting here that we need to change just a little bit in order for it to work correctly, because it wasn't working all that great. So what you do is go to, I'm sorry, I did that a little fast. We will need to just go ahead and go to preferences in the settings. And from there, we go to input, and where it says reset pop-up menu, press and hold, and it says hold delay, short or long. Now, it was a very short. I'm going to put mine around 10 or so, and then click OK. What this is now I can just click reset, and it resets everything for me. Or I can sit here and hold down reset for a little bit, and it brings up this menu, which is different rotation. You can rotate your view, you turn levels off, different display sets, select previous, select none, select all. All these great things, which is a good menu, a quick way to do it. But I like to be able to reset and be able to close things, and that the best way to do that is to just hit the right mouse button. So now that that's done, we'll go ahead and do this. I'll show you what I mean by doing some measuring a pipe and getting a stationing for it. So what I'm going to do is we have our intersection snap down here. It's already as our default. So I'm going to do a tentative snap on the center line of this pipe, and I'm going to just hover my mouse over the end of this wall. You see here it's doing the intersection. So we're going to say this is station 0, 0. And now if I do a tentative snap on this center line and a tentative snap on this center line, it's going to give me the center line of that 90 there. And so it's telling us the distance. So the distance in the station on this particular one will be the same because it's the flat pipe and it's going here. So, but the next one isn't. You can see here, it's not. So what I'm going to do though is say, oh, I can't get this very well. I'd like to rotate my view a little bit. Well, we don't have to get out of our measuring tool in order to rotate the view to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go up here and select rotate, and I can do a tentative snap at this 90, and I can go ahead and rotate my view. Say, okay, this is a much better view. I can even pan. This is a much better view. This is what I want to see. Okay, and then if I hit reset, which is just click the right mouse button once, it's going to get me out of my rotation and go back to my measuring. And you can see here my distances are still the same. And so I could go ahead and now do an intersection of this and this. And you can see here that because this went in a vertical direction, the true distance is 21 feet, but the projected distance is only 11.62 feet. And I can use this projected distance for my stationing, which should be on a horizontal plane, and my true distance for my actual true distance between things. So I can get my true length and my stationing all from one thing here. So you can say, oh yeah, this station now is at 33.60, but true length of pipe, we're almost at 43 feet. So we can keep on going, and we can keep on doing this, and I might need to rotate my view for a few different things. You can even flip it to top view if you need to. And the top views and the front views and all that, it just goes right back to your measurement tool you saw there. I don't have to hit reset or anything. So we'll go right back into it, and we'll say top view, and say intersection of this and this. So you can see the same thing here. It's just giving me my true distances. There's my true distance and my projected distance were the same on this particular segment. But you can see that my station or my horizontal distance along the pipe is much different than my true distance along the pipe. And you can do the same thing. We can rotate for this next vertical bend. I'm just doing a tentative snap at this so it rotates where I want it to. I'm going to pan so it's a little bit better. I'm going to hit my reset button or my right mouse button to reset. And it goes right back to my measuring, and I can hit the intersection of that, intersection of that. And it's working great. And then I say, oh, and I want to go back to my top view. Now that I'm on my flat, And I do a tentative snap on this center line, hover over this center line, gives me an intersection. And you see here, it's just giving me my true distance of pipe, my true length of pipe, and my stationing of pipe, and my horizontal distance of pipe. And you can do this going all the way down pipe, doing a tentative snap on the first one, hovering over the second one, all the way to the end of the pipeline. And you can see that my true distance of pipe is just about almost 15, 16 feet off from my horizontal distance of pipe. But that's a good way of being able to do stationing, which is my projected distance, and my true distance all at the same time. I'll show you a few different other things. So you can measure, you can do all these different things. You can measure radiuses of different things, just telling you the radius of this clarifier. You can measure angles. So I could say the different, what's the angle between these two center lines, or even these two center lines. It can tell you exactly what the distances are, or the angles. You can measure lengths of certain just lines. So if I were to just say, oh, I just wanted the actual lay length of this pipe, I could just select the center line, and it's going to tell me the actual lay length of the pipe, or a certain length of all sorts of stuff. You can get perimeters, so you can tell me, give me the perimeter of this. It's going to give me a perimeter. You can select volume again, all this same stuff. You have some options here. You can select the volume of this. It's going to give you the volume of whatever that is, if it's solid. This is mainly everything that you needed. The only things that we need to go through now is creating multiple views and using the level display. So down here in the bottom left, we have called the groups. So this is, if you have multiple models open, this will open up your previous model if you have this button, and this will go back to the model that you had open before. So you can change to different models very quickly. But the main thing that we need to go through is all these numbers down here, which if it's highlighted in orange, like we've talked about before, that means it's on. You can see that 1 is on, but 2 through 8 are not. These are view ports. So you can click 2, and it will open up a new viewport. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go up here to Window, and I'm going to say Tile. This way it's going to tile these equally on my screen, the two views. To activate each view, you can see here that View 2 is a little bit darker, and it's the active view right now. If I were to click up here in the View 1, or click anywhere in View 1, it creates View 1 as my active view. This is key to note when you are doing certain things, such as auxiliary coordinates. You can see here, it says View 2 is on untitled floor. I can put it on base. Now, and if I go over here to View 1, my auxiliary coordinate is on reactor. It's not, you can change things depending on which view. Same goes for our levels. You can read up here at the top of our level display, I'm actively in View 1. So these levels that are turned on or off will only be active to View 1. Won't change at View 2. You can go to View 2 and it will change there. There is a way to make it work for both of them, and I'm going to go over that here in just a second. I'm going to rotate this particular view a little bit one way or the other. And now we're going to go to our display, level display box. Your levels should look like this. Now then, there are several levels, particularly in this file, that are used or not used. And you can see that there's a little dot next to it if it's being used. If it's not being used, there will be no dot. The other key thing here is you'll see some things are highlighted in blue, some things are highlighted in white. If they are highlighted in blue, that means that the level is on. You can click it and it will turn that level off. If it's in white, it's turned off. You can see this one is white, but it doesn't look like the other white ones. It's grayed out. If you hover over it, it tells you global display is turned off. That means no view is going to have this on. The global display is turned off. Not just the view display, but the global. You can go up here at the top of here, and you can see here that we are on view display. You can go to global display, and there you can turn this on or turn it off and say, oh, I don't want these layers to show on any views, or you can have the option of turning it on or off on a view. And the same thing with the global freeze, you can tell it to be turned on or turned off on all the views. I'm going to go back to view display, and we're going to go with, I want this to be a little bit more organized in that I only want to see my used levels near the top. So you can just click this, simply sort it. I'm going to click it one more time, and now you can see all the things that have a dot next to it for use are all listed, and then everything below it that's not being used is below it. I will go through this right now, but you'll see one here is in green. This is your active level. If you were in a editable file, this would be the level that you would be drawing on or placing solids on. Well, I want to be able to turn anything that's being used on or off, so I'm going to hold down my right click on a level below it that's not being used. I'm going to say set active. So this is setting my level to an active that is not going to, I can't turn this on and off when it's active. You can see here, it will always stay on. So by me putting it on a level that has nothing on it, I can turn my level, all my levels on or off, and no matter what, I can turn everything off in a view or turn everything on in a view. So we're on view one. I'm going to say all on right now. You can see that some more things pop in here. And if I go back to my view displays, if I hold down my right click, I can say all off. And everything is off. I turn them back on. And I'm going to go through another little option here. So that's turning things on and off. You can turn certain levels on and off, like I said. But the next thing on here is you can see here we have a lot of levels in this file. You may want to filter. In order to turn on a filter, it's right here, up here in the thing. It should say none right now. You want to change this to untitled. When you change this to untitled, it comes with this little box that you can edit in. And here you can type whatever you want it to filter for. So in this particular thing, I want to say, oh, I want everything off in view 2, and I want to turn on my reactor, I say 18 reactor maybe. Or that didn't pass anything, so maybe I'll just say 18. This is bringing up all the stuff that has 18 in it. Maybe I want my 18 reactor mixed liquor stuff. In my RAS, I don't know. We'll just throw on some things here, and you can see these things have populated in here now. It looks like something else has populated in here. I'm going to go back to my selection set. If I hover over something, it will tell me what it's on. And you can also hold down right click and you can tell it to turn a level off. It should turn it off. I think a global freeze is on, and that must be why that's on. We won't worry about it right now, but we will go ahead and do this and say I want some buildings on. So if I were to hover over one of these buildings, just see what level it's on, saying, oh, it's on clarifier. And so you see here the beginning letters are CLAR. So let's go ahead and just type in CLAR, and I could turn on anything that had my clarifier situation on it. I'm going to turn on my clarifiers. And you can do this. I know what the extensions are for a few of these. I'm going to turn on kind of my structures. And the only other thing, we're going to just type in SBS. This will give me our pump station, so we're going to turn on those as well. So you see here, I can turn on all my stuff. Well, say I want that, all those same levels to be on in my level view 1. I can simply click one of two things and click this one option that says apply to all open views. So all the levels that are on in this view will be applied to anything that's open views. Or you can click this one to say apply to selected views, which I'm going to use. And then it's asking me down here at the bottom, select which view you want to change. And I can say change one. And you see here, now all the levels are turned off how I want it. Now then, I was trying to find this particular level, which I'm not sure where it is, 868. I think something's a little screwed with that, but we won't worry about it. So we got all the levels on in each one. And so now we can use two different views if we would like, even in measuring or whatnot. You know, you can use one task. You can start in one view like this. You can move right into the next view, and it doesn't change anything. So you can use multiple views. It can be very nice. I think that is all the main things that you would need to know in order to operating Bentley Viewer. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and we can go over more options or anything that you think you would need that is not in here. And thank you.